Hi, it's Emma here from Yellow Brick Road, helping you build your confidence whilst building my own. I hope you all had a lovely day. As you know, I've been coordinating some live videos with various different professionals, talking to different people how they can help us at this time of need, where everybody seems to be struggling with anxieties and stressing and all this kind of stuff, with all the uncertainty that's going on. So I'm speaking to people that can help us and help us sort of with stay strong emotionally, physically, and mentally. So today I've invited along Grace Chatting. Hi, Grace. How are you doing?
Nice to be here.
Lovely to have you. And Grace is a psychotherapist. She's a family mediator. She's got lots and lots of letters after her name. I'm not going to go through them all because we'll be here all evening. But she's a psychotherapist. She's a family mediator. She's a relationship coach. She's also the founder and leader of Western Women Mean Business. And the reason I invited Grace along today was because Grace is also an EFT, a tapping, an emotional freedom technique practitioner. And this is something that I'm familiar with and I know is being used at this moment in time. The frontline staff are using it at this moment in time on their patients, you know, throughout COVID-19. It's helping them with their anxieties. So I just want, if it's okay, Grace, if you can just introduce yourself, tell us a bit about you, and then we'll talk in a little bit more detail about the tapping and its benefits.
Okay, well, thank you. I mean, you've pretty well covered the introduction. I would say the main reason why I've got all those things is because I'm older than the average woman that comes on here, probably. And I've had several different careers and several different reinventions of myself. So I'm not going to go on about that. What I would say about EFT, or emotional freedom technique, is that I first came across it actually back about 1996. It was around then, it was around at the time. And I first was introduced to it in the west of Ireland. I was doing a prenatal and perinatal psychology course, and people were using it there, and it was novel to me. I must confess, when I first saw it, Emma, I thought, is this on candid camera? It looks, I'm going to find Jeremy Beale was at the time. I'm going to find him running in and saying, you're on candid camera. But anyway, I saw such great shifts and changes in people, quite profound shifts for something so simple. So I was very intrigued with it. So, but to be honest, I was a bit skeptical at first. But I'm absolutely sold on it over these several 3 decades nearly,
And you use it yourself, and I know you said before that you use it with your clients.
I use it myself. I kind of see it a bit like we have a shower every day, we clean our teeth, and I kind of scan myself, and you'll see here in my room, I don't know what way to move, there's 2 chairs. It's my therapy and coaching room, but my husband and I, we sit here every morning for a few hours because we're old enough to not have children and dependents around, and we sit and we have a few hours every morning drinking our celery juice and talking to each other. And actually, if anything comes up, like, sometimes you're having a conversation and suddenly you become aware of a feeling, and we're quite quick about it now if we notice it, and usually notice it's maybe a triggered feeling from when we're quite young, and we'll just carry on talking to each other, but we'll tap and clear it, and just clear it as we go. So I call it like emotional hygiene.
I find it so interesting, and when I can't even think, it's a new thing that I've been introduced to maybe sort of 18 months, a couple of years ago. I don't really know if I'm doing it right, but people are probably thinking, what the hell is it? Because some people aren't even familiar with it. So can you just tell us what EFT is and sort of the science behind it?
Okay, so when I first discovered it, it was being put around the world by a chap called Gary Craig, and he is kind of like the father of EFT, a lovely man. And, you know, he's got a whole free manual on his website. If you go to Emo-Free, his website is emofree.com, and there's a whole manual on EFT on there. And he was getting great results with it, but he had kind of derived it from before him, a chap called Roger Callahan was practicing thought field therapy. But it was a bit complicated, and it actually did need a therapist to go through that process.
Okay.
Craig adapted it and made it so it still worked. It still worked, but actually people could do it themselves. And this is the one thing in energy psychology. You know, energy psychology is a kind of umbrella, and it's been growing. Maybe for the last 40 or 50 years. But the thing about EFT is you don't have to have an expert to do it. You can do it yourself.
Practice
but
it on yourself.
if you've got really complicated things, it's a good idea to deal with that with a therapist.
Sure.
But for you know, I think I said to you that I've worked with many couples and with couples in conflict and dispute, and it's actually very good for them to learn how to do it because it's simple, and to get used to practicing together when things come up.
So what does it involve?
Okay.
What does EFT actually involve? What's
So,
the process?
so if you like, the earliest energy psychology that was out there would have been acupuncture. Now, most people are aware of acupuncture, working on meridians, that we have an energy body. We actually are energy. Everything's energy. But the Chinese meridian system, which is kind of ancient wisdom, and acupuncture's been around for a long time. About using needles, and I'm doing that because the points are around here, little fine needles. So it was discovered that actually tapping on the points instead of using needles had the same good results. So that was where it kind of started from. And how it works is it's particularly good for anxiety, fear. And actually, sometimes people think they're anxious when actually they're not. They're full of fear. And I worked a lot. I had quite a long contract with the Defence Medical Welfare people for chaps coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq with serious post-traumatic stress, post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's actually very good for working on post-traumatic situations.
Okay.
You know, I think big percentage of the population are walking about traumatized one way or another.
Sure.
So so how do you want to do this now?
Well, I think so we understand it's a tapping technique. It's very similar, like you said, to acupuncture. It works on those pressure, would you call them pressure points?
They're acupressure points.
Acupressure points. And it's all to do with the energy that we have going on inside of our bodies.
Yes, but it's not like energy, oh, I'm full of energy today. It's not that kind of energy. It's energy body.
Yes. Okay.
And when we're distressed or upset, particularly when we're young, we don't have the cognitive ability or the personal resources to process things, and some traumatic events happen so quickly, we're kind of overwhelmed, and the emotional pain and distress gets locked in our energy body.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the tapping, does that connect something? Does that suppress something? What's that?
And a lot of people, And I would have been one of them as well at the beginning when I saw the tapping. I'm doing that because I always use two hands. Most people just use one hand, but I like to use two.
Okay.
Um, it can appear as if it's, oh, you're distracting yourself away from it. It's not got anything to do with distraction. It is actually, so the way it works is, if
Okay.
you said, with this coronavirus and the children, and I'm trying to get work done, and the children, I don't feel I'm giving them enough time, and all the conflicting demands that are on you. Well, that actually can be triggering, and it can get you into a state of anxiety, which seems to be about the current situation. But for some people, it can get really overwhelming.
Yeah.
Because it's an old anxiety that's got triggered, maybe from a time when they were doing the 11 plus even. Or some time when there were demands on them to perform or to meet expectations, and they were really worried and anxious that they weren't going to be able to do it.
Sure.
So that feeling, if I was working with you and you had that feeling,
Yeah.
and you said to me, God, I feel so overwhelmed with all
Yeah.
this, I would say to you, okay, Emma, on a scale of 0 to 10, not being low and 10 being high, where would you score the level of that overwhelm?
Okay.
So
So
you might
yeah.
say, what might you say?
So if I was to say, because actually what you've just said, you hit the nail on the head with everything that I think as a mum and a businesswoman, I feel like I'm juggling at the moment.
Yeah.
So I would say I'd probably be around a 7.
Okay. So whereabouts in your body do you notice the feeling of overwhelm?
If I was going to pinpoint a place, I probably feel it around the back of my neck and in my head. And the
Okay.
reason I think I feel that, I feel tense, and
Yeah.
I feel my head feels quite heavy.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know if that can
Well,
it doesn't feel like it's in my stomach. It doesn't
well,
make me
this
sick.
this is not a one size fits all. There are some generalities, but I prefer people to say how it is for them, because every emotion has a body sensation.
Right.
We've got so used to being so busy that we disregard the body sensation, and we don't notice that.
Sure.
And you see, the thing is, this is kind of an aside, Emma. When you tense your shoulders,
Mm,
and you start to breathe from up here, breathe
mm,
shallowly, that sends a message to the amygdala,
mm,
your brain, which tells you, oh, there's a threat around, because
mm,
you're breathing shallow and you're all tense. Oh, you need a shot of adrenaline. So a message goes to your adrenal glands, which gives you a shot of adrenaline so as you can fight or flee from
mm,
whatever this threat is. And
mm,
so now you're tense with all the demands,
mm,
and then you start getting full of adrenaline, and then
mm.
you start getting snappy and short-tempered,
Yeah.
because you're ready to fight somebody, or,
Yeah.
oh God, I need to get out of here. Do
Yeah.
so now
Yeah.
you've got a physiological thing going on as
Mm,
well. So, and you can get caught in a vicious loop. So
yeah.
then husband comes in unwittingly and says something, and you go for the jugular.
Yeah. Yeah. That's happened many a time.
Yeah. And they think, oh well, it's just all this stress, and the stress is a trigger for sure. But actually, if I said to you, so Emma, tuning into that tension and all around here and your head, and that kind of feeling that's on a scale of like 7 out of 10, what would you say was your earliest recollection? Now, I don't want you to think about it. I just want you to allow yourself to go back in time to
Mm.
your earliest recollection of feeling similar feelings.
Oh God. My earliest recollection of feeling that It's probably, I could go back to school, I would say, if not maybe even earlier than that.
So your earliest recollection?
Yeah.
So about roughly how old were you and what was happening at the time?
I remember there was this time at school when I was going through a bit of a struggle with some bullying. And I remember having that same, well, just the tension.
Yeah. So that, how old were you?
11, 12.
Okay. And is that your earliest recollection?
When I'm thinking of, yeah, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. So that period of time when you were actually feeling threatened and you were being bullied. So just, was there a one person in particular who was bullying you, or
Yes.
So if you think back to an event in particular with this person when that feeling was particularly heightened. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so look, you don't need to go into all the details here, and that's one of the beauties of EFT. You don't have to go into all of the details because it's very good for people who've maybe been abused in some way, and rather than you don't want to re-traumatize people, so they don't have to spell out the details. The important thing is you logging the feeling.
Okay.
So,
and when you say feel it, you really mean feel it?
Sensation of it. You said it was around here. Is there any other sensation?
Well, I think sometimes when I think, it's an uncomfortable feeling. So when I'm thinking about that time and a particular, a particular event or a particular time when that happened, it's quite an uncomfortable feeling. So it actually, I can feel it in my stomach where I feel a bit angry, a bit.
Just logging that. Now I want you to stay tuned into that body sensation.
Okay.
And then just follow me. I think you might need to take your little hat off. It's lovely. Point, and I would just say to anybody who's watching, we absolutely haven't rehearsed this, and we've not even discussed it.
As you can probably tell.
Yeah. So karate chop point. Are you right-handed?
I'm right-handed. Yeah.
Using your right hand, and these two fingers go on the karate chop point and tap with the tips
on the left hand, using my right hand to my left hand.
On the left hand.
Okay.
This camera thing, right? Yeah. So I want you to tune into the feeling of being threatened and saying, even though.
You want me to repeat?
Yeah.
Even though
I feel really threatened.
I feel really threatened.
I still deeply. Completely. Love. And accept myself. Just as I am. Even though I feel really scared. Would that be right? Did you feel scared?
It's weird because I don't feel scared now as such, Grace. I feel a bit uncomfortable.
Okay, well, the word uncomfortable. I feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I feel really uncomfortable.
But I still deeply. Completely. Love. And accept myself. Just as I am. I feel really uncomfortable.
Just on the top of my head?
Yeah.
I feel really uncomfortable.
Really uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable.
Really uncomfortable.
Really uncomfortable.
Really uncomfortable.
Around my shoulders. Down in my stomach.
Down in my stomach.
I feel really uncomfortable.
I feel really uncomfortable.
Very tense.
Very tense.
All these feelings.
All these feelings.
Of discomfort.
Of discomfort.
And feeling threatened.
And feeling threatened.
I was just a young girl.
I was just a young girl.
When I first felt them.
When I first felt them.
But that was a long time ago.
But that was a long time ago.
That was then.
That was then.
This is now.
And this is now.
So all these feelings.
So all these feelings.
Feeling uncomfortable.
Feeling uncomfortable.
And all the thoughts that went with it.
And all the thoughts that went with them.
And beliefs I formed about myself.
And beliefs I formed about myself.
Behaviors I adapted then.
Behaviors that I adapted then.
I release and let them go.
I release and let them go.
That was then.
That was then.
This is now.
This is now.
And I've carried those feelings.
And I've carried those feelings.
A long time.
A long time.
It's time to let them go now.
It's time to let them go now.
It's safe to let them go.
It's safe to let them go.
It's okay to let them go.
It's okay to let them go.
And I release and let them go.
And I release and let them go.
Take a deep breath. And again. And again. And take hold of your wrist and put your thumb across your wrist and give it a little squeeze, because there's 2 points there. Just give it a little squeeze. Peace. Peace.
Peace. Yeah. I feel very calm.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind I'm doing this on
live,
and people probably think I'm absolutely insane, but I do feel really calm.
So on a scale of 0 to 10, that feeling that you had recalled, on a scale of 0 to 10, where would you put it now? If you think about this girl that who used to bully you, and when you would see her, when you were about 11, that feeling.
On a scale of 0 to 10 now, it's definitely come down. I feel a lot calmer.
Yeah.
I'd probably give it maybe a 4 or 5. Yeah.
Well, actually, if we were having a session, I would go over with you this remaining discomfort until it came right down. Now, the thing is, I did that fairly quickly there because we're just doing a demo, really. The thing is, we start off with, even though I'm feeling X, whatever the feeling is,
yes,
I fully and completely love and accept myself. Now, the reason for saying that is when we're young, when we're children, and I mean, a lot of the roots of our anxieties and worries and fears are from primary school or before.
Yeah.
So, and we don't have very well developed cognitive abilities. And so when we get these feelings, we tell ourselves, oh, I'm just being silly. Oh, I'm being stupid. But people will say to us, don't be so silly. And so we make judgments of ourselves. And so one of the biggest things that we have to change with EFT when we're doing it, it is about discharging old unprocessed feelings, but it's also about putting in, even though I'm feeling that, I deeply and completely love and accept myself just as I am, even though I'm feeling that feeling.
Sure.
So what we're doing is rewiring the neurons in our brain.
Right, okay. That makes sense.
So it's not just silly movements. It's not just about the words. We are actually rewiring ourselves and discharging.
So a lot of what's going on with people's emotions and feelings at the moment, with all the uncertainty, because I think that's a big fear for a lot of people. For the majority of people, it's not knowing what's happening, not having that faith, and I don't mean faith as in, like holy faith, but I mean faith is in the environment, the government. And sorry, Grace, I missed that.
What kind of faith's all right too?
Yes, that's it. That their faith in what what's to come and that kind of stuff. Do you think a lot of people's emotions and what they could be struggling with now are normally linked back to something that's happened in their past that's triggering something that's making them feel that way?
Definitely. Most people on a routine basis, things that get triggered, there is something probably happening in the here and now, but sometimes there's not. Like, let me give you an example. I'll give you an example. This is kind of taking it away from being treated badly. on my hard drive a couple of years ago, I was thinking, on my hard drive, there are manuscripts of books that I've written. There are courses that I had created, all manner of creative projects that never got out into the world. Now, bearing in mind, I'm coming up to 74, and it was grieving me a bit that I was in my 70s. I'd created a lot of stuff and didn't get it out, and that I felt sad. So I noticed that I felt sad, and I sat and pondered on that sadness, and it felt like a great loss. And I understood the strength of it then was the loss of what had never happened that could have happened. But when I sat and processed it, I won't give you a blow by blow account of it, Emma, but when I processed it, I had a flash of when I was about 6 in primary school. And we used to, every week, we would all do painting in the class. The paints and things would come out. And, I would just long for my painting to go on the wall. Teacher always picked 3 paintings and put them on the wall. And every week I would think, right, I'm going to really try hard. And maybe this week she'll put my painting on the wall. And, she bloody well never put my painting on the wall. But the point was, well, I mean, they used to do stuff like that in these days, But, I mean, to be fair, she never said it. I don't recall her saying anything nasty or anybody making any comment. But in my own little mind,
it's how you accepted it.
I formed a belief that, well, anything that I create is not good enough for people to see. And I didn't realize it, that actually I was a very creative person, and I spent my life creating stuff, but I never put it out because I had this feeling, but not consciously. I never consciously thought that, but actually I hit on it, that unconscious belief was really a huge block on me putting out all manner of things and actually being out there. And so, I tapped on it, and, it just went. And I mean, like, I'm out there talking to anybody now, and, the brakes are off. But my point is, that's a tiny thing, and it's not, it's not huge abuse or horrible, but we all form beliefs and views about ourselves, and it blocks without us even knowing it.
And stop us doing the things that we really want to do.
And the I'm not good enough is a universal feeling. Everybody's got some version of I'm not good enough.
I hear that a lot from sort of the women in the groups that I'm part of, and I also hear the fear of what other people think. The fear of other people's opinions. So it sort of prevents people from actually taking that step forward or acting in a certain way or trying something new, because they're so fearful of what other people might say or what other people are going to think of them.
But when you think about it, that goes back to early days when fundamentally you weren't accepting yourself, because when you really do have good, solid self-worth and self-acceptance, you don't care too much what the other people think.
Of course.
If you have got any kind of fear of what other people think, it's fundamentally, it's a lack of self-acceptance. So the tapping is very good for putting in, even though I feel like I'm not good enough, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. So you're starting to put that wiring in for the first time, and discharge those blocked feelings of I'm not good enough.
Definitely.
So
it's brilliant.
It's powerful. And I think I did share with you that a lot of the schools in Spain in particular, they use it in class, and the disruption and is down, and the productivity is up.
And the grades are going up.
So
so that's the key thing, isn't it? I mean, this is very all of this kind of thing, the tapping, and you know, there's been a lot that's only been introduced to me in the last few years, where I've sort of opened myself up to it a bit more. And I know some people will be watching this thinking it's nuts, it's insane,
but it's not
like anything
scientific, actually. If anybody really wants to look at the science, oh gosh, I did write it down because I keep forgetting the name of it. The NICE, National Institute for Healthcare Excellence, the guidelines that we use for our health services.
Yeah.
There's been hundreds and hundreds of studies done using EFT, and if you go to the NICE site, you can see that quite extensively EFT has been found to be really good for treating post-traumatic stress.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and like I say, the beauty of it is, I mean, we took a few minutes to do that, and it doesn't take long. I mean, if somebody coming back from Afghanistan, I used to work with those people, but then I knew how to hold them.
Yes.
So I wouldn't suggest anybody does that for serious, like a really traumatic incident. But one of the good things about it was I was able to teach them how to do it. And I mean, you could almost, what I've done with you is a quick version. You could almost remember and do that yourself. You wouldn't do any harm for yourself.
No.
And the thing is, it's very empowering.
Sure. And is it right, Grace, in that the more you're doing it, so like anything, just to do it the once, it's something you need to consistently.
Well, that's right. Like, you know, I clean my teeth to preserve my teeth, but I don't do it just once and then think, oh, well, that's that done now.
It's going to work. Yeah. So it's something you do, like you say, you build it into your routine.
Not obsessively. I wouldn't say, oh my God, you've got to be doing it all the time, but just looking out and just becoming more self-aware, not self-absorbed, self-aware, and noticing when you get oh, I've got a strange little feeling there. I mean, sometimes the strange little feeling can be something was said or done, or you smelt something. I mean, do you ever smell the grass being cut? And it takes you back to when you were 16 or 17, or your first love, when you know, or whatever. An aftershave.
Yeah.
Like things, but they're triggers.
Yeah.
And that can be good triggers, but it can also be, and you might not have even registered that consciously, but you just know that, oh, I just don't feel too good.
Yeah, it doesn't feel quite right.
You say that something got triggered, and that's a good time to tap.
Yeah. Funny enough, I went to Tesco's today. I've not been shopping like my partner's been doing the shopping, but I went down to Tesco's today, and I got some shopping. And I'm a real tactile person, like, you know, and it's just the way I am. If I see someone, I want to give them a hug and give them a kiss. Sometimes it's too much for a lot of people, but that's just the way I am. And I found it really quite uncomfortable because everybody's having to stay so far apart from each other. And I sort of walked past some veg or whatever, and I felt I couldn't go back because there was literally people waiting behind me for me to keep moving forward. And I felt really, really uncomfortable and at ease. And it wasn't until I come home and I felt really off for the rest of the day, where I've just been like, oh, I thought I don't want to go to the shops again, because that really made me feel like crap. The
useful thing to do then is to really tune in, sit down and tune into the feeling and notice whereabouts are you feeling it, and on a scale of 0 to 10, where would you score it, and allow the feeling. So don't think about it, because people think they've got to think and remember. It's not remembering, it's recalling the earliest time or times in your early life when you would have felt or hurried or not meeting people's expectations, or them being disapproving of you, or, you know, it would trigger those all. And then, you know, just tap, even though I felt disapproved of, I still deeply and completely love and accept myself.
And do you use those same words? Because you've said them same. So it's the same sort of format of words, you're just changing the reason behind the reason for it.
Easy, but like I said, it's not just about saying the words. It's not just it's tuning into the feeling and the accepting of yourself, even though you're feeling that, and saying, you know, kind of reinstating when you were 11. I felt so uncomfortable. I felt so whatever, threatened. I felt frightened, because actually sometimes when you're being bullied, each time you're going into school, you're going in with a state of dread, and dread would be a feeling, if things coming up and you think, oh God, I'm really dreading that. It can trigger off old feelings of dread. And you wonder, why am I so bothered about this? I've done it loads of times. Why am I feeling it's so dreadful? So whoever's watching, I would say, I know it might look a bit silly and stupid, and it did to me as well. And I was a skeptic, but I use it very happily, and it has removed so many blocks in my life. And my husband and couples that I've worked with, they've got over their self-consciousness, and because they get such good results, because divorces are very expensive, and it can sit for for conflict, it does bring you right down to have a proper conversation without feeling, oh, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
So, and tapping families, my little granddaughter, I taught her how to do it when she was 4, and she's 11 now.
Yeah.
And she'd say, oh, Granny, I tapped on it, it's fine.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Yeah. I think that's amazing, especially being a parent. It's trying to, as much as we've got our fears and we're dealing with them, our kids are doing exactly the same thing. And you want, as a parent, to be able to support your children as much as you possibly can. If there's another tool that you can put in their sort of, in their backpack that's going to help them when they're feeling that way.
It resources them. It gives them some tools. And the beauty of it is, because often children are frightened when they go to bed, all their little worries come up. I bought her some little worry dolls, and she tells her worry, and puts them in a little box, puts it under the pillow. But actually, she taps. Even though I feel worried, I still deeply and completely love and accept myself.
And even saying those words to yourself, though, we don't do that, do we? So and it's just important to talk to yourself how I suppose you talk to other people. Because sometimes we talk so badly to ourselves and so nice to other people, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think I don't do it now at all. I think that habit's well broken for me, but I listen to people constantly saying, oh, I'm so silly.
Yeah.
And constantly making negative judgments of themselves, which actually, that is every bit as bad as somebody standing in front of you telling you're stupid, you're silly, it's the same effect.
That's what I say. Whatever is going on inside your head, you're always listening to it, aren't you? Constantly. So if it's all negative and it's all, I can't, that's what you start to believe. You believe that you can't.
But it is very good for, where people have had relationships that broke, where they were royally dumped. Maybe they thought they were going to get married to somebody. They'd been seeing each other for 3 years and were making plans, and it was just a few months to the wedding, and then they've been dumped. I mean, that is traumatic if you see it coming, and it hurts and it goes deep. So EFT is very good for, those deep kind of wounds, but also, like, one of the big times when I find it particularly useful, my daughter, when she was 17, had a very serious road traffic accident. And in fact, that would have been, I knew about it, but that would have been the time when I seriously took it on board, because I needed to. And she was hit by a car. She was on the back of her boyfriend's motorbike. And it was a case of, at the hospital, a sign here because we may have to amputate her leg. Well, and she was in surgery all through the night, and it was horrific, absolutely horrific. And for like, well, she had about 8 years of surgery, in and out, in and out. But that first 6 months, it was, well, we don't know whether, you know, she had bone grafts, skin grafts, muscle grafts, bolts and all sorts in, and we don't know if it'll work. And so she was in a lot of pain. I was sort of thrown into being Florence Nightingale, and I didn't feel up to the task. I constantly felt overwhelmed. So that was when I thought I absolutely need something. And it did help me, and it helped her as well.
Brilliant. That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Grace. You've been amazing. Grace has got a free webinar that she's put together for anybody that wants any more information or wants to learn a bit more about EFT. The details or the link of that is above this video. You just need to go through to that link, enter your details, and you can register for that free webinar. But thank you so much. You've been amazing. All the knowledge and everything, you know, in line with this. I'm definitely going to go away and look into it a bit more and join your webinar.
Okay.
So thank you, Grace. Thanks to everybody that's watching. Take care, and I'll see you soon.
Bye.
See you later, guys. Take care. Bye.